it takes a lot of balls to golf like I do.
Grab a chair, Mr. Webb, this is down. It's my podcast. This guy's insane. Rock your brain. It's just a song. A Steve here about.
Schmack 'em a gob. It's time for another Vieira Vault. And yes, I have the oh so popular co-host, Mr. Will Carroll. Hi, Will.
What's up, Ralph? How you doing, everybody?
Yeah, man, we're gonna do the Who today, man, by Will's request, because you're a big Who fan.
Yeah, of all the bands from the '60s, I think the Who are the best, or they're my favorite at least. You know, I love them.
They definitely are the most unique, that's for sure. I love them too. How did you discover the Who?
From my older brother Jim, my oldest brother Jim, was a big Who fan when he was a teenager and just going through college. He loved the Who, and there was always albums around the house, and I just started listening to them, and I love the energy and the ferocity of the Who. It's so loud and like Live at Leeds, you know. It's just that's pretty much a metal album. I consider it like the roots of metal right there. But yeah, just listening to all of his albums and just the oddball lyrics, and they're just kind of like they're like you said, they're the weirdest band of all the '60s bands, and it totally appeals to me.
Yeah, I was more like, you know, I own like a lot of compilations, but I own like the popular '70s stuff, well, all the '70s stuff, and but I never really dwelled into the early stuff because I figured, you know, what I had pretty much covered it, but I was wrong because, and by the way, we're going to talk about just studio albums, which they don't have many studio albums, which is odd, you know?
Yeah, like especially like when the '70s rolled around, there was huge gaps between each album. Like they really slowed down their output for some reason. Probably, I mean, it's because of Keith Moon mainly, because he was in and out of like rehabs and just you know, he's kind of a mess in the '70s. So they were kind of catering to his schedule a little, you know.
Right, yeah. And but you know, I love the Who. I saw the quote unquote farewell tour, the It's Hard tour.
Oh wow, you went to that? Awesome.
Yeah, you know what's crazy about it? I have a newspaper clipping. It was at the Tangerine Bowl. Me and my brother drove up to Orlando, and there's a newspaper clipping of it where it's a shot of the whole stadium, the whole crowd in the stadium, and you see me in that picture. I was like, wow. You know, it's like 100,000 people, and you see me pretty up close. But yeah, it was the Who, Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, and the B-52s opened that show.
Wow, what a weird bill, man.
Yeah, it was a strange bill, and I'll never forget when the B-52s were playing. They were throwing stuff at them, and like one of those chicks had that big beehive haircut, beehive hair, and a plastic cup just stuck right in it, like during a whole song. It was pretty wild. And
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, on that tour when they played the West Coast, I believe it was the Clash opening up.
I know that the Clash opened up the Shea Stadium show.
Okay.
Because I remember seeing footage of that. But yeah, what's weird was I saw the 50th anniversary of the Who tour, and Joan Jett opened that. So I saw the only two times I saw Joan Jett was with the Who. And,
full circle.
Yeah, full circle. And then I saw them back in like either late 80s, early 90s. They played the full Tommy album. And then I believe they had Simon Phillips on drums during that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw them one more time after that. I seen the Who a total of 4 times. But unfortunately never with Keith, you know, but I did get to see Entwistle, which is my favorite bass player.
Oh, dude, totally. I saw the very first show after John Entwistle died.
Wow.
And it was only 2 days after, man.
Wow.
I mean, nothing could stop that tour, apparently, you know. The show really, really must go on. And it was a trip, you know, because we all thought the show was going to be canceled. And it still happened. We went to it, and it was a weird show, you know, like it was fun, and I was glad to be there, and I was glad that the show still happened, but it was also kind of sad, and it was like a kind of a mixed bag of feelings, you know. And then
Right.
at the end of the show, they had like a moment of silence, and they showed some pictures of John
Oh
throughout his
wow.
life on the big screen, and that was kind of intense. And I just remember like throughout that night, we were partying extra hard, and every time we do a shot or do a bump or do whatever, we would always say John would want it that way.
Yeah, he would. And I mean, he died like a rock star, hookers and blow.
He sure did, man.
Yeah, he was with a hooker doing blow. That's how he died.
And
And
on that tour, they had a backup bassist already traveling with them because they kind of saw it coming. They,
really,
yeah, I've read that they kind of knew that he was on a downward slope and he wasn't taking care of himself, so he was kind of a liability a little bit. So they had that guy with the dreadlocks. I forget his name, but he's still their bass player. But he was on tour with them just in case John couldn't play.
wow, that's wild, man. I'll never forget. And I'm going to give a shout out to my friend David Lovett. When he died, I said, I posted on, I think it was during the MySpace days. I said, "Damn, my favorite bass player died," and he said, "Oh, come on, really? He's just saying that he's dying." I go, "Dude, have you heard John Entwistle play? How can you even question that cannot be the favorite bass player of somebody?
Or just being surprised that someone says that. Yeah, I mean, maybe you don't like the Who, but come on, you have to recognize the dude's a shredder.
He's amazing. Wasn't he I think he was a guitar player, right? And he switched
I
to
think
bass.
you're right. Yes.
Yeah, I have a few Who documentaries, and they're all great. Especially the Kids Are All Right. That movie is so well made.
Dude, that's the best rock and roll documentary ever. I think, man.
I agree with you 100%, man. And I'll never forget because I was young and dumb, and I did see it in a midnight theater. And I went to buy the soundtrack because I love that song. Bob O'Reilly.
Uh huh.
And that live version, so good. But I didn't know it was called Bob O'Reilly. I thought it was called Teenage Wasteland.
Everyone thinks that, totally.
And I didn't buy the soundtrack because it didn't have Teenage Wasteland. I said, why would they leave Teenage Wasteland off this fucking album? And I never ended up buying it till I found out later. I was like, oh, that's the name of it.
That was actually the defining moment for me becoming a Who fan was when my brothers and sister, they all went to go see The Kids Are All Right in the theater. I was too young to go, and they came home. They all came home different people. I swear to God, like they had just seen the second coming of Christ or something. They were all wild eyed when they came home. Like, man, this movie, you have to see this movie. Like this band is crazy. And then someone brought home the soundtrack. That's what really got me into the Who was the soundtrack for The Kids Are All Right. Every song and every performance on there is just the Who at their fucking best, man.
Yeah. No, and that show, man, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that whole show is now available where they did Bob O'Reilly and Don't Get Fooled Again.
That's where is that? Is that in New York at
I'm not sure.
Or maybe it's Wembley Arena. Maybe it's I forget where it is, but that was the last show with Keith Moon, right?
Yeah, I believe it was. And a funny thing about the most historic part of that whole movie, where everybody talks about, is the knee slide. The Pete Townsend knee slide during We Don't Get Fooled Again, where I have the Blu-ray and the commentary. The director was talking about that whole scene was fucked up because the lights didn't turn on in time. So if you look at the footage, it's dark, and when he lands on his knees and he starts sliding is when the lights come on. And he's like, "Yeah, I fucked that up." But I was like, "But that's so historic. It doesn't even matter because it's just such a cool little fucking scene,
I remember the commercial for The Kids Are All Right, the movie. That was the whole commercial. It was just that scene of him sliding and the scream, and I was like, "Wow, yeah. What is that?" Like I want to see that. That looks exciting. Do you remember that TV show WKRP in Cincinnati?
Yes.
Remember that Who episode?
No, I don't.
There's this episode where the owner, Mr. Carlson, I think is his name, and Andy, I think the station director guy, his name is Andy. They go to the Who concert in Detroit where the people get trampled. and
Oh,
like after the show, they come back to the station and they're all like having fun, like the greatest rock and roll show ever. And then they find out that some people died at that show, and like everyone's worried that they're going to change their radio station to easy listening or something because the people die at a rock show, so it's a bad association. You didn't see that episode? You don't remember that one?
no, I don't, man. And I have seen plenty of those episodes. I remember that Thanksgiving one. You saw that one where they
Oh
threw
yeah, with the turkeys out of the plane. Totally.
That was a messed up thing. But I thought that trampled show happened in Atlanta. It was in Detroit.
Oh yeah, you're right. It was in Atlanta. Absolutely.
I remember when it happened. I remember seeing the news reports and going, "Wow, that's messed up." And then that's already Kenny Jones, right? I believe.
Yeah. It was before he recorded an album with them, but they did it was the Who Are You tour actually, because Keith Moon died before that tour commenced. So yeah, they got Kenny Jones to fill in for the rest of the Who Are You tour, and then he ended up joining the band full time. But I have a bootleg from that trampled show, and the bootleg is called Stampede. Can you believe that?
Oh,
man?
that's cold, man. That's brutal.
Yeah, it is, man. I had to buy it though.
Wow. I almost got trampled at a Rush show. I should bring this up real quick. Neil, and I have the newspaper clipping too. Well, I have it on my computer. I don't have it physically. What happened was Neil Peart was in the Bahamas, and it was very difficult for him to catch a plane. And he ended up chartering a plane or something, but they wouldn't open the gates, and people got restless and throwing shit at cops. And I saw it physically, man. I saw a guy hit a cop with a 2x4.
Whoa.
Yeah, dude. And then after that, I mean, we're all squashed up to, I'm all squashed up near the gate, and the cops brought out tear gas. And when the canisters fell and shit, people started running, and I fell, and people were trampling on me. And my friend Claude grabbed my arms and pulled me out. I could have got killed too,
Scary, man.
Oh, man. And breathing that tear gas was brutal. And here's the ironic part, Will. The opening band, Riot.
Whoa.
Yeah, Fire Down Under tour. Moving Pictures, Fire Down Under tour.
That's a great lineup.
Yeah, it was an awesome show, and I ended up getting a tour book for free because my friend stole the whole stack of them. I mean, even going in, it was still unruly. People were raiding the merch table and stealing shit. It was a crazy fucking show. But But anyway, so back to the Who.
Well, hold on. Before we go to the Who, I want to talk about my trampled story.
Oh, what happened?
This was embarrassing. I'm embarrassed to admit this, but it was at a Motley Crue show, and it was on the Dr. Feelgood tour, and it was during Tommy Lee's drum solo. And on that tour, his drums went over the audience, like it was on like a track, Yeah. So he was rolling like right above us, and he stopped and kind of leaned over his kit and was like yelling into his head mic, like, "Look at how close I am to you." And people started going insane. And I can't believe I'm admitting this, but I fainted. It got so hot, and I was getting so crushed by everybody around me that I blacked out. And I hit the ground, and people started like walking over me and shit. And my buddy Gil like pulled me up, and he was so embarrassed. He's like, dude, you fucking faint. Hella girls saw you, dude.
Oh, that's brutal.
And I gotta say, you and I are fucking a couple of idiots, man. That Stampede show was in Cincinnati. That's why WKRP in Cincinnati covered the show. I'm looking at the record right now. It was Riverfront Stadium, Cincinnati, December 3rd, 1979. So there you go.
All right, it wasn't Atlanta. That's fucking nuts. But,
have you ever trampled anyone by accident, or stepped on a human being, or walked over someone?
Well, I used to drink a lot, Will, so I might have. I don't remember. I don't recall.
I have a quick story about that. The real quick one. I was at a festival in Europe. I was at Wacken, and I was there with Vicious Rumors. It was like 2001 or 2002, and it was on a day off, and I was walking around the grounds. It had rained all night, so there was mud everywhere and just piles of mud here and there. And I bumped into Rick Hunolt from Exodus because they were playing that year, and we were chit-chatting, and he wanted to go see Destruction. They were going on. So we walked over to the stage where Destruction was playing. We were out in the audience, and we get there, they're playing, and, he's really short. Well, he's not really short, but he's kind of short, and I'm not that tall either. So there were just like the tallest people in the festival would happen to be all around us. We couldn't see the stage at all, and he was like going, "Fuck, man, this sucks. I can't even see Destruction, man. This fucking sucks." And I look over, and there's this pile of like a mound of mud, like a pile or a mound, like a little hill of mud. And I go, "Dude, look!" And so we walked over, and we got on top of it, and it was great. We were like a couple of feet higher than everybody else. We could see the stage fine, and we're we're on there for a good 10, 15 seconds, and then all of a sudden, bam! Someone shoved us from behind, and we went flying off of this mound. And we turn around, and this woman screaming at us in German, and she's pointing at the mound and pointing at her head like she was probably saying something like, "Are you out of your mind?" or whatever. And she's looking down, and we're like, "What the fuck?" And we look at the mound, and someone rolled the mound over, and it was some big fat guy that was covering the mud.
Oh, oh man.
Oh, dude. And I went, "Oh shit, Rick, what should we do?" And I turned, and Rick is already like 100 feet away, like he's practically running away. I was like, "You motherfucker!" So I was stuck there to deal with it,
Oh man, that's insane. It's always been my dream to go to a whacking.
People say it's overrated, but it's not. It's the best. It's great, man. As far as playing it, other festivals are a lot more fun to play. At Wacken, it's so huge, and there's so many bands that they don't pay as a close attention to detail. They don't cater to the bands quite as well as other festivals. Like Hellfest, that's the most fun festival to play because they just treat you so well, and they give you everything you ask for, and the food's awesome. Everything's great, But Wacken is amazing. It's fucking killer.
Yeah, one day, man. I just like to go to Europe and see shows. Period. I did see the Ramones in Germany.
Oh wow!
New Year's Eve going into 1980. The Ramones, the Talking Heads, and the Boomtown Rats.
What were you doing in Germany in 1980?
My brother was stationed in the army, and my parents and me went over there to visit him. And I'll tell you the most fucked up shit about that, Will, was Led Zeppelin played 2 weeks after I left, and my brother went. It was one of John Bonham's last shows.
Oh man!
Yeah, dude. And I remember seeing the how do I say it? Like posters plastered on walls, and there was like Led Zeppelin. I have a picture in front of Led Zeppelin. The poster for that show. It was in Munich. And my brother went. I believe it was the second to last show John Bonham ever played.
Wow.
So yeah, man, if I would have been there 2 more weeks, I could have seen Zeppelin. Fucking bummer.
And that's after Into the Outdoor came out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It was 79. That album came out in 79, right? I believe it did.
Right.
And I was there from 79 to 80. So no, actually that show happened in 80, like maybe January, somewhere in January 1980.
What do you think of that album, Into the Outdoor?
Here's the thing. I love it because it was the first Led Zeppelin album I bought that was brand new.
Mm-hmm.
It's very different. I understand. It's like, I know. Look, I like a lot of Zeppelin albums more than that one. That would be near the bottom, but I still love it for, I guess, nostalgic reasons. And Carousel is one of my favorite Zeppelin songs.
Dude, fucking A, man. That's in my top 3 for sure. I didn't like that album growing up because it was just, a poppier version of Led Zeppelin. But over the years, man, that album's become one of my favorites. I love it, man. I think the only song I don't like on that album is Hot Dog.
And that's universally known. I love that song. Everybody hates Hot Dog. I don't know. I like it because I'm goofy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a head scratcher. Like, why they even included that on the album?
Yeah, that's Plant's roots, the rockabilly stuff and Elvis and stuff like that. I'm
Right.
sure he had a lot to do with it. I mean, at the times, Page was so fucked up on heroin. That's more of a John Paul Jones album
Totally, man. Totally.
than Jimmy Page, and I'm sure Robert Plant got that in. And it's really weird. I don't know if that's on YouTube, but I have it on a VHS. They made a video for Hot Dog.
What?
But it's just a performance. But yeah, there is a video for Hot Dog, but I don't think it's on YouTube because I remember looking for it years ago and never saw it. Yeah, it's like a live performance, but they blended in the studio version.
Huh.
Out of all the
That's
songs.
news to me.
Yeah. But
I have a friend who never really heard much Led Zeppelin, and he wanted to give him a shot. And I guess like someone suggested he start off with the song Black Dog. He's like that's a pretty good song to start off with if you want to get into the Led Zeppelin catalog. And he got confused and bought Into the Outdoor thinking Hot Dog was Black Dog. And he was like, what the fuck? And this is one of their best songs. Fuck Led Zeppelin.
Oh man. Yeah,
there's a big difference between those two songs.
A lot of people always like, you like Hot Dog? I was like, I'm still searching for that one person that likes Hot Dog out there. I don't think I'll ever find him.
I read that John Bonham said that the last song of the album, which is called "I'm Gonna Crawl," he said that was Robert Plant's best vocal performance ever, and I might have to agree. I mean, the vocals at the end of that song are so impassioned, man. Like when he starts howling and screaming,
it does that loud scream at the end. Yeah, it's great. And when I was a little kid, when I first bought that album, I didn't like "You're Gonna Crawl" because of the way it started. I thought, man, it's like soap opera shit. But now I fucking love it. But that beginning sounds like General Hospital and shit.
It does.
It's just so fucking. Like fucking All My Children. It's like, what the hell is this?
But, it sounds like something the Honey Drippers would do, like
right?
Like pre-Honey Drippers.
Exactly. Yeah, that doo-wop shit. I own the Honey Drippers album. Yeah, I'm sure you don't like that either, right?
Yeah, I mean, I never really listened to the whole thing, but I saw the videos and heard the singles, and I didn't hate it or anything, but it's just not really my thing,
the thing about Robert Plant, it's like that guy. After Zeppelin, like he's done a lot of like different type of music and world music. He's like
new wave.
He's like a very legitimate dude. Like he likes to explore shit. And Picture the Eleven's an awesome album. You have that one?
I do love that album. Wait, is that the one with Big Log and I'm in the Mood?
No. That's Pleasure.
Principle of Moments.
Yeah.
That's a great album.
The one I'm talking about has Burning Down One Side.
Yep.
Cozy Powell played on it, and Phil Collins played drums on it.
Yep.
It's the most Zeppelin-y album he did after Zeppelin. But boy, we're talking about a lot about Zeppelin, huh? During the Who.
We haven't even started the Who yet.
Well, here's a little trivia, and I know you know this. How did Led Zeppelin get their name?
Keith Moon said that this band's gonna sink like a Led Zeppelin, right?
Yep, something like that. I know Keith Moon came up with the name Led Zeppelin.
Yeah,
because they were the New Yardbirds, and he said, "Oh, the way you guys sound, it goes over like a Led Zeppelin or something like that."
Exactly, something like that.
So there is a connection with the Who and Zeppelin.
Have you ever seen that footage of Keith Moon jamming with Led Zeppelin?
Yes, it's on YouTube. It's like a Super 8 film.
Yeah.
Some guy like filmed it from the audience or something.
Yeah.
That shit's awesome. And John Bonham, Tony Iommi was John Bonham's best man at his wedding. Did you know that?
I knew that. Yeah, I didn't know that until the book came out, Tony Iommi's book. But yeah, totally. Yeah,
because they were very close. They were Plant and Bonham were for Birmingham, and so was Black Sabbath, and so was Napalm Death, so was Judas Priest, and so was ELO.
Crazy fucking town, man.
Yeah,
Something
man.
in the water.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Except for ELO, which I love ELO, but boy, that don't match. Those bands.
Totally.
But that's how Bevan got in Black Sabbath. I'm sure. The connection.
Oh, right, right. Dio didn't care for John Bonham too much, right? You've heard
No,
about
I
that.
did not know that. No.
Yeah, John Bonham, shortly before he died, he went to go see Sabbath, and he was standing on the side of the stage watching him, and this is like Heaven and Hell era, and between songs, Tony Iommi walked over to the side of the stage to get a drink or something, and he said hi to John Bonham, and John Bonham said, "Hey, that midget you got singing for you, he's got a hell of a voice." And Dio overheard
Oh,
and was furious. And I believe Dio refused to sing another song until John Bonham was not there. Like he had to leave the side stage, or Dio wouldn't perform. He was that pissed.
wow! I never heard that story.
Yeah,
Yeah, Dio had a temper. You
yeah.
know,
Well,
let me add a story that there was this big guy that started with him, and Dio
oh,
got up on a chair and beat his ass.
really?
Yeah, that's an awesome story. But all right. So the Who.
Yes.
All right, now these are the albums that I'm not aware of, so I haven't heard it enough for it to all sink in. But we're gonna go all the way to the first one, which is I believe it's called the Who Sings My Generation, right?
Yes.
I was very surprised by this album because I thought it was pretty heavy, especially for that time.
Yes.
And even like the songs that aren't like tailored to be like heavy are pretty heavy. Like Please Please Me, and there's a few songs that are not like they're kind of like bluesy or I don't know how to mod whatever, but it's got this heavy edge to it. And that opening track, Out in the Street's pretty heavy.
Totally.
I was really surprised by that. And of course, we all know My Generation. I knew The Kid's All Right, which is beyond catchy, that song.
Oh yeah.
That song is so catchy. So you're more aware of this album?
I am, but that was one of the last albums I got by them, actually. I mean, I knew like the popular songs, but I didn't know the whole album until maybe the early 2000s. I didn't get that album until that late,
Wow.
But I love it. I love every track on it, and I like the whole surf rock vibe. Like, because Keith Moon was a huge Beach Boys fan,
Yeah.
and just a big surf rock fan in general. And you could hear that influence all over that album, like just the drumming and just the backup harmonies, everything about it. Like, there's a lot of surf rock in there, and I dig surf rock. So I love the first album. I think it's a great debut. Awesome.
And how great is that footage of them doing Bob Aran with Keith?
Yeah.
That is such a great fun with Keith singing it during the kids. Man, whoever hasn't seen Kids All Right, you got to see this movie.
Totally.
It's so well made. I love that 2 seconds where he's like, hope I die before I get old. And then they show Pete Townsend like older going, huh?
Yeah.
Great stuff. Well, I dig it too, though. I can't dwell too much into it because, I just heard it this week for the first time. And
oh wow, okay.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember what other songs are on there. Is La La Lies on there?
La La Lies, yeah.
That's a great tune.
I don't mind. The Good's Gone. Much Too Much. Please Please Me. It's Not True. I'm a man. Legal Matter, and The Ox.
Oh, dude, The Ox is killer, man.
Yeah.
Cool instrumental. I love a Legal Matter. I think that song might be my favorite song on the album because the lyrics are pretty fucking funny, man. I mean, you know what that song's about, right?
No, I don't.
It's just about he got a girl pregnant and he's bailing on her.
Wow.
So he's saying it's a legal matter now, like I'm not getting married to you, and he's bailing on the chick. Not that I'm condoning that, I don't want to alienate anyone out there, but it's still a pretty funny song. The lyrics are kind of harsh.
Well, that's the thing about the Who too, and you got to talk about My Generation. I mean, that song to me is like proto punk.
Yeah,
it's so heavy and like, I mean, what came out first, My Generation or You Really Got Me? I wouldn't know.
That's a good question.
But all I know is that song is extremely heavy for that time.
Totally, man. Totally.
Because everybody points at Helter Skelter, which there is a Who connection to Helter Skelter. I don't know if you know this.
I don't
Um,
know this.
all right, I'll tell you. I'll tell you when we get to it. The song. Well, I'll go all through that one, but yeah, okay, is it on the next album? No, it's not on the next album. But the next album is called A Quick One, right?
Right.
Now, this one I wasn't aware of either. There is some songs I do know on here, and Boris the Spider has to be like, dude, that's death metal, man. Those vocals, you know.
Yeah, yeah. People say that, and I have to agree. I can't think of a song that came out before Boris Aspire that had the voice
Yeah,
on it. So I love John Entwistle's songs in general. He always had the coolest, like usually the heaviest songs on
yeah,
each album. I was a big fan of his songs. So yeah, I like this album too. I think the production's a little weird. It doesn't sound as good as the first album. It sounds like maybe it was rushed or something, but there's a lot of treble. It's a lot of high end on that record, and it kind of hurts your ears sometimes. But they were experimenting with different recording techniques, and their manager Kit Lambert, I think that's his name. I think he produced that album, and he wasn't very well versed behind the studio console, so he was kind of winging it, and he was coming up with these weird ideas and different techniques that weren't really used by other bands. So that's why some of the songs, like the cymbals that sound like steam engines, or there's a lot of compression going on. So it's an interesting album. The songs are really good. It's funny, when I first heard, once again, I didn't hear this album until like the late 90s. So the only version of the song, A Quick One, the only version I was familiar with was the one on The Kids Are All Right, which is a great version.
yeah.
And when I heard the studio version on that album, I was kind of disappointed because it sounded so timid, But
Yeah.
but I've grown to love it now, and it's a great album. The first two albums are awesome.
Yeah, again, this is one I was not too familiar with, and to me, it sounds like what you would expect after my generation. It's kind of got the same vibe.
Sure.
And yeah, a quick one of that, man. That may be the longest rock song, the first longest rock song ever. You think about it. I mean, what is it? 9+ minutes.
Yeah, I think it's almost 11 minutes. But the story behind that is their manager was like, okay, you guys need to do something. Like you have to make a statement on the second album, because I mean the first album was a hit, but it didn't do. I don't think it did as well as they were hoping. So they were trying to do something drastic on the second album, and the manager suggested they write a 10-minute song, and Pete Townsend was like, a 10-minute song. Who the hell does that? You can't write a 10-minute song. So he wrote like 10 or like 6 or 7 2-minute songs and just bunched them together, and that's what the quick one became. But it works well though; it flows great.
Yeah, and overlooking all these song titles, it was not really a hit. I mean, I think I know Boris the Spider because of that farewell tour in It's Hard era, because I know they played it that night. I'm positive.
Definitely, and they even threw a spider on stage at the end of the song, and Pete Townsend would do his famous like jumping the spread eagle jumps he did, and he would jump on the spider, and they would accent every time he landed on the spider, like dun dun dun. I remember
Oh,
that.
wow.
Because like, did you see the HBO concert for that tour?
Yes, but I don't remember that scene, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But that's all. Heat Wave I know because the Kids All Right, or maybe it was another documentary. I know I've seen him play Heat Wave, like an old version, but I'm not aware of any of these other songs. I know a quick one from the Rolling Stones. Have you ever seen that, the Rolling Stones Circus?
Rock and Roll Circus?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. With Tony Iommi and
Tony Iommi.
Tull.
Yeah.
Yep.
And now here's a question. I don't know if you know. I don't even know this, being the big Black Sabbath fan I am. Was Tony's fingers chopped yet during that era?
Oh,
I'm not sure.
That's a good question. I don't know.
You can't tell. I tried looking at the video, but you can't really tell.
You know why that movie was never officially released, right?
No.
It was because of the Who's performance. They smoked the Rolling Stones so badly that they didn't want to release it, because the Who just showed them up completely. And I have to agree. I mean, they steal the show with that quick one performance.
Oh
Absolutely.
man, yeah, dude, that's I think the first time I heard because they do it all on there, right? I believe they do the whole track on that
Yep.
I do have it, but I don't know if it was officially released, but I do have that whole show, the Rock and Roll Circus.
Yeah, they finally eventually released it on DVD in the 90s. You know, it was an official release, but they when they first filmed it, it was intended to be a a theater release and shown in movie theaters. And once they watched the playback, they're like, no, no one's ever going to see this.
Wow.
I mean, apparently, like they were up all night. The Stones were, and they played last, so they were kind of tired by the time they went on, and they look a little tired when they're playing. And their performance, like, they're kind of dragging in some parts. Like the songs are a little slower, and I mean, I love the Stones and all, but the Who smoked them, man. They smoked them.
There's an infamous story of Skynyrd smoking them. You ever heard that story?
No.
Yeah, there's Skinner's about to Skinner had a movie called Freebird that had most of that show. It's an outdoor show where a big tongue is on the stage and they weren't supposed to go up on a tongue and they all did. But but the story was that they blew away the Stones so bad that the Stones never released that footage of them playing that show. So they ain't the only ones that blew away the Stones, you know. And then I heard
that was in Florida.
No, I
Okay.
believe that was in England. I could be
Okay.
wrong. I believe that was in England. But here in Orlando, the Stones in Tattoo You tour, Van Halen opened on the Fair Warning. And I didn't go, but everybody that told me said Van Halen blew away. Well, I gotta say the greatest show I ever saw in my life was the Fair Warning tour. So I don't know. I would believe that would be true, you know.
The picture on the back of Diver Down is from that show.
Yes, it is.
Right.
There's a lot of pictures of them opening that show because you see that Tattoo You artwork behind them,
Yeah.
and the Stones played like in the daytime. You know, that shit was done by like 6 p.m. That show.
The whole tour was like that. When they played Candlestick Park here in San Francisco, it was an afternoon show as well.
Wow. So
I have a quick Leonard Skinner story. I don't know why it just popped in my head. I'm not that much of a Leonard Skinner fan. In fact, I can't stand him. But that's something that I
I'm
don't want to
a
offend anybody.
huge Skynyrd fan.
I know you are. That's why I don't want to get into it.
No, you could. You know, I love when people bash shit I love. It makes me feel good.
But I was at a bar, and surprise, and someone was playing Leonard Skinner on the jukebox, or the bartender was playing Leonard Skinner, and I made a comment that I don't really like Leonard Skinner, and this guy sitting next to me, I'd never seen this guy before, turns around and goes, "You don't like Leonard Skinner? You can go fuck yourself." I said, well, if you're a real Leonard Skinner fan, you would have said, "You don't like Leonard Skinner? If you don't like Leonard Skinner, you can go fuck your cousin." He got really bad, dude.
Oh, that is the ultimate comeback line, dude.
He wanted to throw down, man.
That is legit, Will, because I have a hot cousin that I wouldn't mind banging. That's why I love Skinner, bro.
And dude, the bartender, like he like fucking quoted me for the next 3 years. Every time I walked into the bar, he would yell that at me. Like that was the greatest thing he ever heard.
Yeah,
he was laughing his ass off, man.
That is awesome, man. That's great. But, you know, I mean, I'll tell you one song that if I ever hear again, I'm gonna punch an infant. Is Sweet Home Alabama. I can't stand that fucking song.
Okay.
I'll tell you that.
And another song.
No, I love that one, whatever it is.
I was gonna say That Smell. You like that song?
I love that smell. But I will admit, I'd be happy if I never heard it again. I'm burnt out on it. It's one of those songs you love, like, you know, like a Back in Black, You Shook Me All Night Long. You like it, but you never want to hear it again.
I mean, call me immature, you know, but just a song makes me think about farts. Like, who the fuck wants to? I don't know. I know that's not what they're singing about. They're singing about drug addiction, but it just, you know, that smell. The way he goes, "Ooh, that smell," it just makes me think of a smelly fart, you know. And, but before I heard Guns N' Roses, I was reading an interview with Slash in some magazine, and he was ripping on that song, and that's what made me want to listen to Guns N' Roses.
Wow.
Okay, we're getting off track here.
But that's the beauty of the show, man. We need to get off track. And I'll just recommend one thing. Check out the song On the Hunt. You'll probably think different of Skynyrd when you hear. You'll find a song like when you see somebody, I hate Kiss. Well, listen to War Machine.
Right.
I finally like a Kiss song. Listen to On the Hunt. That song.
I will check it out.
It's heavy and it's awesome.
I remember I was at a ZZ Top show once, and I love ZZ Top. They're one of my favorite bands of all time. I love them too. And people get like perplexed by that. Like, well, how can you love ZZ Top and not like Lynyrd Skynyrd? There is no comparison whatsoever to ZZ Top and Lynyrd Skynyrd. I mean, they both have a southern flair to their music, but that's about it. Like lyrically and the musicianship, it's completely different. There's two different animals completely.
It is.
But anyways, I was leaving the ZZ Top concert, and some fucking burnout hippie guy was sitting on the floor. And he goes, I guess like Lynyrd Skynyrd was playing at the same venue a couple weeks later. It was at the Cow Palace. And I walked by him and he goes, see you at the Skynyrd concert, man. and I go, I don't like Lynyrd Skynyrd. And he goes, you got some problems, brother.
And you know who's standing next to him? I bet you didn't know. His wife/sister. Oh man. Boy. Yeah, but I love me some Skynyrd. But I mean, here's the thing about me, and of course we're staying off track, people. I was raised in this little town in Hialeah, Florida in the 70s, where all my friends were rednecks.
Okay.
So I was raised on Skynyrd, Allman Brothers, Molly Hatchet, all that shit, so it's kind of like a childhood thing that, I mean, my two favorite live albums, Unleashed East, my favorite, my second is the Skynyrd one, One for the Road. There's just something, it's just so organic. And, and here's something you probably not aware of. A lot of Southern rock people think Lynyrd Skynyrd are like posers.
Really?
I've heard that a lot. Like, no, man, real Southern rock is Allman Brothers. What Lynyrd Skynyrd thing was blasphemous. I've heard that a lot growing up. That Lynyrd Skynyrd's like a poser Southern rock band. I was like, shit, they're my favorite Southern rock band, but whatever, But
you like Molly Hatchet too?
I love the first three albums, and after that they lost me. But go ahead.
Those guys, dude, like they're the kings of false advertising, man.
I know where you're going. Going.
Dude, I used to see their album covers and go, "Holy shit, this is going to be heavy as fuck."
Yeah,
it's going to be beyond Iron Maiden or something. And I'd flip the cover, and every guy in the band looks like they were just driving a tow truck or some shit. Man. Like what the fuck is this, man?
Well, you're lucky. Well, at least you flipped the cover. My old guitar player bought it, and he went home and he was horrified. He goes, dude, I fucking hate Molly Hatchet. I bought that first album. And I was like, what the fuck am I listening to?
Yeah, man.
The same thing happened to me with the Grateful Dead. The Grateful Dead had an album cover with a skeleton playing a violin.
Sure.
And I bought it. I took it home. I was like, what the fuck? Whatever. Do you like the Dead?
Dude, there was this girl. Here I am going off on another tangent. But there was this new girl at my high school. She started going like mid like junior year or whatever, and she was cute, and so she was a rocker chick, or so I thought, and so like all the rocker dudes were like, hey, have you seen this new girl? And like yeah, we're all checking her out. And so I was getting the nerve to talk to her one day and maybe ask her out on a date or whatever. And that day came, and I walked up to her, and she turned around and she was wearing a Grateful Dead shirt, and I never spoke to her again. I never looked at her again.
JJ French from Twisted Sister, he had the funniest Grateful Dead story. When he was a kid, he was the biggest Grateful Dead fan. He saw Grateful Dead like 50, 60 times. He loved them. And then he quit drugs. he said, I heard the Grateful Dead. I was like, this shit sucks when he was off drugs. But yeah, that's a band I can never get into, man. But and that's false advertising too. Well, at least that album cover. I bought that shit. And I didn't even give it away. I didn't want to give it to nobody. I threw it away. I threw it in the trash. I was so pissed off at it, you know.
And you're probably too embarrassed to give it to someone, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably that too, you know. But all right, the Who.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, now I got to tell you, man, when I went to the next one, the Who Sell Out, oh
Mhm.
man, this album really confused me, man. I couldn't get into it.
I
Uh,
fucking love this album, dude.
but
I
you got to admit,
love it.
it's fucking weird though, right?
It absolutely is. It's their like failed attempt at being a psych band, you know, like an acid psychedelic band.
Did
And the
you
open,
get it on the first listen though?
you know what? Okay, here's a funny story. So, like their first three albums were the last albums I ever heard by them. Like I was more familiar with their '70s stuff, and like you know everything after Tommy I was very familiar with. But the first three albums I didn't really hear until you know much later. And the Who Sell Out, I heard it once like in a diner. I was having lunch, and someone was playing it like in the back in the kitchen. I could hear it from the kitchen, and I asked the waitress what it was, and she's like, "Oh, it's the Who Sell Out." And I was like, "Whoa, this is weird. This is the Who," and I was tripping out, but I was intrigued, you know. And then you know years pass, and I'm in the Philippines with Death Angel, and on one of our days off, me and Ted went to this mall across the street from the hotel we were staying at, and there was a music store, and everything in there was like Filipino music, like Filipino artists and stuff. So the only like rock album they had in there was the Who Sell Out, a CD of the Who Sell Out, the deluxe remastered version with tons of extra tracks and stuff. But it was like that's kind of an odd album of all albums in the world, you know, the Who Sell Out in the Philippines.
Yeah.
So I bought it, and I went back to the hotel and put it on. And this was a really nice hotel, and like there was a huge stereo system in each room, you know, with CD player and a turntable actually. So I put it on, and I was tripping out at first. Like the first song, Armenia City in the Sky, is very weird. You know, it doesn't sound like the Who at all. It's total psych. But for some reason, it was like the right time or whatever. I had the right amount of alcohol in me or something. It just clicked with me, and I loved that song. And I kept on playing it over and over again, and I was turning up the stereo louder each time I played it until someone complained, and like the hotel security, they thought it was coming from Rob's room, so they went to Rob's room to tell him to cut it out. And he was like, dude, what the fuck are you playing, man? Like, what the hell is that song? What are you listening to? I was like, who, man? So this album has a special place in my heart. And I also like the overall theme of it. Like you're listening to the BBC radio in the late 60s, you know, or the mid 60s. It
Right.
totally has that vibe with all the little jingles between each song. And on the deluxe version, there's even more jingles that weren't on the actual album. Like they do a commercial for Jaguars, and they purposely did that because they were hoping they would get free Jaguars from doing that. You know, I wish things were that fucking easy in life. You know, you just write a song and you get a free car. You know,
Right? Yeah.
but they also did one for Premier Drums, and you know, it's a fun listen. It's a wacky album, I know, but I really dig it, man. I really, really love it. It's my third favorite Who album.
Wow. You see,
Yeah.
but you know, in my defense, I got one listen because I listened to this in order, you know, because YouTube has all the albums. So I put on
Right.
My Generation, I put on a quick one. Then when I got to this one, because this is the final one, I'm aware of the shit after this. I was kind of like, what the hell am I listening to, man? This is weird. Now, before this album was done, this is the Helter Skelter connection.
Okay.
Before this album was done, Paul McCartney read an interview with Pete Townsend saying, "We wrote a song that is the heaviest, dirtiest, nastiest song that was ever recorded." And Paul never heard the song. He just saw the interview and said, "You know what? I'm going to write the heaviest, you know, because of that." And he wrote Helter Skelter. Now, the song that Pete was talking about was I Can See for Miles.
Ah.
Yeah, which turned out, but you know, Paul never heard I Can See for Miles, but he just saw the interview and he said, "I'm going to beat him to it. I'm going to write the heaviest, nastiest song ever," you know? So there's the connection with the Who and the Beatles there, you know.
Okay.
But
The
yeah,
and the funny
go
thing
ahead.
about this album also is on side one, there's a little radio jingle between every song,
Mhm.
and then by the time side two comes around, they just completely abandon that idea. Like on side two, there's no more jingles. Like it just kind of turns into a normal album, and that's one of the reasons why Pete Townsend thought that album was kind of a failure because they didn't stick with the concept all the way through. They didn't see it all the way through, and it's kind of a trip. It's like side one and side two are almost two different albums.
Oh, are you aware of the Pete Townsend solo stuff?
Sure, I mean not all of it, but some of it definitely.
My friend bought me, I think it was his last release that has a lot of news reports between songs. You know what album I'm talking about?
Mm-mm.
Like the album has a lot of text on the cover. Man,
Oh, I know which album you're talking about. Yeah.
it's a really good album though. I understand there's two versions, one without the news reports but I think it kind of resembles this where it has these
Mm.
weird things in between songs, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but I mean, I will give it more listens, but you can't really judge shit by the first thing. Now the next one, I guess we should talk about this, which I don't own, but I know all these songs. It's called Direct Hits. You know this one?
Yes.
This is the one that, man, I know all these songs except for, I don't know Doctor Doctor on here or In the City or Call Me Lightning, but I know every other song on here. I'm a Boy,
Mm-hmm.
Pictures of Lily, I Can See for Miles, Substitute, Happy Jack, and The Last Time, the Stones cover,
Mm-hmm.
and Marianne and Shaky Hands and Dogs. Do you own this?
Yes, I do. Yeah, yeah.
You like it?
I love it, man. I mean, it's all their singles, or I mean, a lot of their singles, and the B sides. Like Dogs was a B side to maybe I Can See for Miles. I can't remember what the B side is, but or what the A side is. But Dogs is a great track, and there's a
Yeah.
Dogs part two on Direct Hits too. There's a second Direct Hits.
Oh.
Yeah, but yeah, I love it. I also love Meaty Beaty Big and Bouncy. All their comp albums are top notch, man.
I love Meaty Bigger. I have that on vinyl. I love that album.
Awesome.
It has
It's awesome.
has my favorite Who song, The Seeker.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's
Well,
crazy that song's not on an actual album.
do you know when that
trip.
was recorded? What era?
I think it's from '71, so I think it was recorded for Who's Next or around the Who's Next era.
Wow. And just to go back for a second, you were talking about that deluxe thing of Who Sell Out.
Yeah.
They're about to release one now.
I know it's the anniversary of that album. I guess
So
it's what the 50th anniversary or whatever, but it's supposed to be like 8 hours long or some shit, man. Like there's so much bonus material. I'm definitely gonna get it.
Yeah, I saw the advertising on Facebook of all places.
Me too. Me too.
All right, so then now is when I start getting familiar with the Who. Though I did get this one a little later, but I think it's a masterpiece. Tommy.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's maybe the greatest concept album of all time. Or okay, I like Quadrophenia even more. But
So do I, actually.
It's fantastic. The only thing that kills me about Tommy is the drums, man. They're so wimpy sounding. Not Keith Moon's playing, but just the drum production and the overall mix of his drums. They're so thin and they're kind of buried and they're really quiet in the mix and you can barely hear the kick drum. And I just wish there was a better drum production. But that's my only complaint about the album. It's great, man. I fucking love it. The movie I don't like so much, but the album is fantastic.
Well, I saw the movie in the theater and hated it.
Yeah, I don't dig it, man. I don't dig it.
But I bought the Blu-ray and I enjoyed it a little more. It's still very dated looking, but I liked it more as a grown-up. I mean, did you see it only one time a long time ago?
I may have seen it a couple of times when it was on TV, but I was really young, like many, many, many years ago. I haven't seen it since I've been an adult, so I might appreciate it more now.
I did. I actually did appreciate it a little more. I mean, I still didn't. It still wasn't mind blowing, but it was better than I remembered. And I went to see it as a little kid because I wasn't into music yet, and Elton John's Pinball Wizard was a big hit. I think I heard that before the Who version.
Okay.
and I went to go because I loved the song, and Elton John's in it doing it, so I went to go see it, and I was just like, "What the fuck am I watching, man? This is a really weird fucking movie."
Yeah, it is weird, man.
But yeah, the album, which I bought in the '80s, there was a little market across the street that had it on CD, and I bought it, and man, I love it, man. It's different, but it really does have like the concept is there. You can kind of tell, like, it's a boy, or is it called? Yeah, it's a boy where the child is born, and
Yeah,
dude, amazing journey and Sparks. What a great 1-2 punch that is.
totally. And a quick one is the part one to the Tommy story, right?
No, I didn't know that. What I did know watching the documentary was, Pete was thinking of a rock opera when he did a quick one, but it goes into the story of Tommy.
Yeah, it's telling the story of the woman cheating on her husband and sleeping with the engine driver, and then Tommy is the bastard child. So yeah, it's like the precursor to the Tommy story. It's pretty cool how he tied them in.
Right. Well, I hear like a really huge growth too in the music on this album.
Oh yeah.
The album really, and it really shows the genius, because I think this is where Pete Townsend kind of changed, and how he made this concept album flow so effortlessly. And there are some strange musical sections like fiddling about, the Keith Moon song and Tommy Holiday Camp, which I dig them. I do like them, but they're really off the beaten path. But I think this is it has some really cool hard rock songs too on it.
Oh, for sure, man. Like Go to the Mirror. That's a pretty
Yeah.
heavy rip.
Oh, yeah.
That. Yeah, it's cool. Do you have the vinyl version?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, it comes with the booklet, and it's like a triple gatefold. It's a really cool package, man. I love it.
Yeah. I know. I do love it too. I bought that album like maybe 3 years ago on vinyl at a record convention, and the Acid Queen is cool. I dig that song, and cousin Kevin is a little disturbing,
for sure,
to say the least. And it's great. I love how it ends. I just think it's a really well constructed album, and I think just to jump ahead, I mean, he even perfected it more on Quadrophenia.
Totally.
But as you know, the next album was supposed to be a concept album called Lighthouse.
Yep. Wait, before we go to the next album, what's even more disturbing about Cousin Kevin is when they were doing their Vegas performance of Tommy. You know who played Cousin Kevin? Gary Glitter. Gary Glitter.
Oh man! Nobody better.
Dude, like they were keeping it real, man.
Yeah, no shit. Holy shit! I did not know that.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Wow.
I believe my sister saw the show. She flew out to see one of the performances, and she was like, "Oh, Gary Glitter was great. He was one of the best parts of the show." Yeah. He was singing from the heart.
Yeah, exactly. He lived it. He is Cousin Kevin. Oh man, that I didn't know. Entwistle wrote that song.
Yeah, he always writes the dark, sinister tracks, man.
Yeah. And but I gotta tell you, and then like going back to the Tommy movie, Oliver Reed. The Oliver Reed was a infamous alcoholic.
Yep.
There's footage of him on the Tonight Show on YouTube, totally fucked up drunk, and he became really close with Keith Moon. And him and Keith Moon had a drinking contest. I saw this in a Roger Daltrey interview, and him and Keith Moon drank like about 4 bottles of bourbon, and Oliver Reed passed out, and Keith is like, "Oh, fuck you," and he went to the pub. He told the story.
I think those two guys had a radio show too. They
Really?
used to do like a comedy skits on the BBC. There's on the Who box set, 30 years of maximum R&B. There's like a couple of excerpts from the little radio things they did. It's pretty funny, man. They were a good comedy team, really good.
Wow. Yeah, I got to check it out. I mean, Daltrey said that, back then they didn't really know it, but he thought like now, if Keith Moon was alive, they would have diagnosed him as autistic because he wasn't saying that. He said a story where Keith Moon was on the 20th floor outside dancing on top of the air conditioner because you know how air conditioners were against the window back then.
Sure.
Yeah, he was nuts. And then what was the other story? There was another story where they were going to the airport, and Keith Moon was like, "Oh no, you got to turn around. I forgot something at the hotel. You got to turn around." And they're
I
like,
know this story.
This is a great story." And they're like, "Oh fuck, man, we're gonna be late." No, it's really important. I forgot something. And they go back to the airport, and then Keith comes back. He's like, "All right," and he's like, "Well, what the fuck? What'd you forget?" And he's like, "I forgot to break the TV."
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, I mean, back then being in a band must have been so much fun. You just can't do shit like that anymore. You can't get away with anything these days, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And then I believe it was during this tour where he took a monkey tranquilizer in San Francisco. You heard that story?
Oh, of course. There's actual footage of it.
Yeah.
He's falling asleep behind the kit,
Yeah.
and they kept on shooting him up with adrenaline, like in his ankle. And, he'd pep up for a couple of minutes and then just go right back down again, man.
Yep. And then Pete Townsend says, "Is there any drummers in the audience?"
Yeah.
And they got some guy in the audience to finish the set.
Totally, man. Totally. Just imagine being that guy, dude. Oh, my God.
Good. Yeah, I'm telling you, man. Keith Moon was something else, man.
I think that was on the Who by Numbers tour.
Oh, it was much later then because the footage I saw was black and white. That's why I thought it was earlier.
I think it was the Who by Numbers tour.
But all right. Well, before I know we were going to talk about just studio albums, but I'm pretty sure after Tommy was live at Leeds, right?
Yes.
That album is so lethal. Just the way it opens up,
Totally, man.
It's
both versions are great. Like the original version that only has like 6 songs.
Yeah.
That's great too. And then like when they in the 90s when they put out the full concert or most of the concert, that's even better when they open up with Heaven and Hell. It's so fucking awesome, man.
Dude, that album that's one of my favorite live albums too. It's
totally.
It's one of my favorite.
I've read what Pete Townsend said. He feels partially responsible for the birth of heavy metal because of that record.
He said that recently, I believe.
Yeah.
And it is. It's a very fucking heavy album. And totally. What was that? 69, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it was like 1 year before the first Sabbath album. Yeah, there was a lot of proto metal going on with Hendrix and Zeppelin and and the Who. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it is great. But yeah, okay, so yeah, Live at Leeds is phenomenal. If anybody I would point to that one if anybody wants to get into the Who.
For sure.
Listen to Live at Leeds first.
Totally.
And then explore all the other shit. So the next album, which is called Who's Next, was supposed to be a concept album. And correct me if I'm wrong, didn't they write enough songs for it to be a concept album? They just shaved it down?
Yeah, definitely. Like a lot of those songs surfaced on like different compilations and stuff. But yeah, it was supposed to be Lifehouse. And I actually read somewhere what the concept of the record was supposed to be, and it was I couldn't grasp it. I think that's why they kind of abandoned it midway because it wasn't coming together, and like no one really understood the story behind it. Like only Pete Townsend understood the story. So like the label and everyone was like, I think we should scrap this and just make a regular album. And they're probably right. I mean, Who's Next turned out pretty damn good,
Oh yeah, it's actually my favorite studio album by them.
It's phenomenal. It's perfect.
It's all killer, no filler. Every song on it, and even the deep tracks like "My Wife," "Loving for Keeping." The song is over. Unbelievable.
Totally. And the drumming, dude. That's Keith Moon at his best. His drumming was never quite the same after Who's Next. I mean, it was still good on the follow-up albums, but he didn't. His fills weren't quite as fast, and he just wasn't playing like quite as much of a maniac style as he was on the earlier albums. And Who's Next is like the pinnacle of his insanity behind the drum kit. You know, it's just fucking awesome.
Yeah, and I think this is when Townsend really got spiritual.
Hmm.
Um, I think Bob O'Reilly, wasn't that the name of the guy that, like, his mentor or something, or maybe it's something that he would call him Bob O'Reilly or something like that.
I
Not
think
a,
it's a combination of two different things. The Baba is from his mentor or spiritual guide, whatever. You know, all those guys back then had some kind of guru in their life. You know, like the
yeah,
Stones and the Beatles. Everybody,
yeah.
that's kind of the hip thing to do. And the O'Reilly, I can't remember what the O'Reilly comes from, but I'm pretty sure it's two different things put together to form that song title.
Which is weird, but lyrically, I don't think it has anything to do with it. But maybe I'm wrong. You know,
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so.
I just get the vibe of, just their fans that get all fucked up and go see them live.
Totally,
That's the
totally.
and Bargains, maybe my favorite off here. That song is so Roger Daltrey's vocal performance on there is just so great. But you know what, man? I don't know if you feel this way. And I am a huge fan of Roger Daltrey's voice. But man, I like Pete's voice more.
Whoa!
I
I mean,
do.
I love Pete's voice, but that's a bold statement.
I'm telling you, there's something about Pete's voice. It has this silky vibe to it that I really, really love. You know, I
I'd like
just,
I'd like to see Pete Townsend sing "Love Reign Over Me," man. Ain't gonna
well,
happen.
no, yeah, exactly. Well, then again, I like Ace Frehley more than Ingve, you know.
I do too.
But who would blow who away technically?
Right.
There's certain things that the technical part aspect is not really. Yeah, I know Roger Daltrey has a much more powerful voice but there's just something about Pete's voice. I really love it. It's got this really like silky thing, but then he can get a little nasty too. Like
Sure.
that live version on Kids All Right when Bob O'Reilly, when he goes up to the mic, he's like, "You,
Yep.
yeah," I just
Yep.
love that shit. He's got grit to his voice here and there, but yeah, but then you listen to Bargain, man. I mean, Jesus, man, the way Daltrey sings that shit, and
Sure, man.
Love Rain on Me, yeah, of course, that one as well. But yeah, this is a killer, no filler album. I never get burnt out on We Don't Get Fooled Again, ever.
Me neither. Me neither.
Or Bob O'Reilly or Behind Blue Eyes, Going Mobile. I mean, it's just,
My wife, dude. My wife's a great song.
yeah, Entwistle, man. And it's pretty heavy, I
Totally.
love it, man. This album is awesome, and I would love to hear all those bonus tracks because I haven't.
Oh, dude, they're killer, man. I can't
I
think of
know
any of.
Pure and Easy. I know.
Yep.
I know
Yep.
that was one of them.
And there's water. I can't think of them all right now, but there's enough for a full album's worth of material. For all the bonus tracks, they're all great, man. It's killer
Yeah, Pure and Easy's up there. One of my favorite Who songs too.
for sure.
That was from that session.
Yep.
I think that was on Odds and Sods, or
Yes,
is
another
it?
great compilation. But that actually, Oz and Saws, most of it is the Lifehouse stuff. That's pretty much the bulk of that album.
So Long Live Rock was during that era too.
Yeah, yep. That's a badass song too, man.
Yeah,
That's a
love it.
heavy Who song.
Be it dead or alive, that shit fucking rules.
Totally.
Yeah. All right. I see the next one is the Meaty Beady Big and Bounty, which I do own. Let me go through. Yeah, this is a solid compilation album.
For sure.
You got Substitute, Can't Explain, Happy Jack, Picture the Lily, The Seeker. Man, there's just something about The Seeker. It's so. The last time I saw the Who on the 50th anniversary, they played The Seeker, and Pete Townsend said, "I wrote this song in Florida." And I was like, oh, and I didn't know. Then he went into The Seeker. I was like, whoa, I didn't know they were going to play it. And, but there's just something so cool. And there's a video for it. Have you seen a video for The Seeker?
I think I have. It's been ages ago, but I think I have seen it.
Yeah, they made a video for it. It's pretty damn cool. It's like all the band members, like really close up to the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a great vibe. And I love Keith's playing on that song. It's just, Oh, any way, anyhow, anyway is another one I like.
That's one
Oh,
of my favorite Who songs, man.
yeah,
They just go off in the middle section, man. It's so fucking killer.
I love it. Magic Bus, that was a single, huh?
Yeah, it was also an album that was only released in the U.S. So in Europe they released a quick one, and in the U.S. they released Magic Bus, and it has different songs. I actually just bought Magic Bus on vinyl like 3 or 4 days ago, but
Wow.
it has a lot of the same songs as a quick one, but there's a few variations. Um, and I actually prefer Magic Bus over a quick one. That version of the album's a little more cohesive, I guess. But yeah, Magic Bus, great song. I love it when they play it live and they turn it into like a fucking 15-minute jam. It's just so killer, man. There's a bootleg. I don't have it, but I actually did a Who podcast a couple weeks ago, and this guy was talking about a bootleg he had where there's a version of Magic Bus on that album that's a half an hour long.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. Those are the days, man. You got
Yeah.
your money's worth when you saw bands taking drugs on stage and just going nuts.
Going into those extensive jams like Made in Japan, Deep Purple, and shit like that.
Yep, exactly. Like
Uh,
Deep Purple, they fucking take it to a whole new level. I mean, I don't think they had it in them to play the song how it is on the album.
no,
Man. Like it wasn't in their DNA. They just couldn't do it, man. Like
yeah,
every song turned into an extended fucking 10-minute version. I'm not
yep.
complaining, but every single song is funny.
And Blackmore is infamous of never repeating his guitar solos.
Yep.
He always does. Like if you watch like those Rainbow videos, like Stone Cold, like during the solos, they don't really focus on Blackmore much because you can tell in the video shoot he ain't playing it like it is.
Yep.
Okay, this brings an end to part 1 of the Who Discography with Will Carroll. Join us next week. We can go into part 2, where it's not, as you've heard in this episode, it's not all going to be about the Who. We talk about different things. It's always a blast with Will Carroll, but let's go into the vault now. All right, on this episode, I'm going to play you a bootleg, an audience recording of the last time I saw The Who on the 50th anniversary show, where they perform my favorite Who song, The Seeker. And it smokes. Check it out.
I should say something about this song very quickly. I wrote it in a swamp in Florida.
The Who live in Miami at the American Airline Arena with The Seeker. All right, my friends, thank you so much for checking out the Who Discography Part 1 with Will Carroll. Check us out next week where, what is it? I think we start off with Quadrophenia. Well, actually, we start off with talk other than The Who, which is very interesting, what comes up next before we go into Quadrophenia. So I hope you all check it out, and I want to thank you all for listening, especially you that are listening right now, that share the Vieira Vault. Y'all rule. I love you all. Thank you so much. Schmack-a-magob.